Nature is good for you. What are the benefits of nature? Okay? First and foremost, nature is fun. Nature is the most fun place a kid could be because it unlocks your imagination. We're going to delve more into this in a minute, but I just feel inspired to talk about this. When you're outside in a space that is only filled with its natural elements and nature's loose parts, when you're there in that space and you don't have a game, you don't have a game set up, you don't have a plastic play structure, you don't have a set of toys, there's a little problem with toys and plastic. The problem is, it is already a thing. It's already something. The plastic play kitchen has already dictated that it will be a plastic play kitchen and nothing else. And guess what? If you're playing with me, you're playing kitchen. We're cooking stuff. But what if it was just a rock? It could still be a really, really good play kitchen, and I know that. I've watched kids use nothing but a rock or a stump to make the most wonderful play kitchen. But it could be anything else, too. It's an amazing thing. You take the limits off of an imagination when you allow kids have that free space that is unbound. That's my favorite benefit of nature. But there's more. It's good for our bodies and it's good for our minds. Basically for the opposite reasons of all the things we just discussed. You need sunlight, you need air, you need physical exercise. These are all basics that all of us should know. This also helps with your ability to learn and absorb information. Some of this is for reasons we don't quite understand. But kids who actually spend less time studying and preparing for standardized testing and replacing that time with time outside have higher scores. Higher scores than the kids are spending more time studying inside. This has been repeated over and over again. The most recent study was the one from Yale. If any of you guys want references to any of this stuff that I'm spouting out at 100 words a minute, just ask my mom. I can get any of this to you. So higher test scores. You also have schools that have included outdoor time as a necessity every single day, have a lower absentee rate. They have fewer behavioral issues. Kids they're better behaved and they're happier when they're allowed to be kids. This shouldn't be that hard to understand, right? You allow a kid to be a kid. None of us likes being told to be something that we're not. None of us likes the feeling of what it feels like when we have to be unauthentic, when we have to be something else. Kids need that same freedom, and part of being a kid is playing. Real playing, not playing, not thumbs, okay? Nature is good for families. Now, I know this goes a little bit out of our topic as educators, but I always feel that I need to stress the amazing influence nature had on my family, at least, and that I see it having in others. And that is, when my wife and I fight, what we do now is we look at each other and we go, let's take this outside. Now, we all know what that used to mean. You want to take this outside? That's become a thing for us because we know if we get outside, we take a few breaths of air, we become so much more logical. And we're like, okay, what we're arguing with was actually really dumb, or what we were arguing about is important, but we're now in a state where we can talk about this instead of call each other names. The same thing happens with my kids. They start fighting with each other, out you go. Okay, that is before we ever punish. We do have, consequences. We do like, time out. You need to sit alone and think about what you did, all that kind of stuff. But we never get there before we first try. Go outside and play. The first consequence of bad behavior in my house is go outside and play. And it's funny because when they're really defiant, they go, I don't want to. That's no fair. But it's amazing what happens. It just pulls down all those negative emotions. Sunlight, fresh air, physical exercise, and connection to things that are real will do magic for you. Then finally, this benefit is something that's very close to my heart that I get very emotional about. And that is that this really matters for the long-term health of the place we call home, for our planet. Kids need to have a connection to the planet. It's more important than any of us could ever fathom, and here's why. Who knows what those are? Yes, this is specifically the western black rhino from Africa. And the sad part about this photo is that there will never be another photo of western black rhino. Who knows why? They're gone. They're completely extinct. 2012, the last western black rhino died. And it's gone. How many people read about it on the front page of the news? How many people saw all their friends on Facebook posting about this? I mean, if you have really cool environmentalist friends, maybe you did. I had a few. But we didn't. Where was the outrage, right? Now, there was another species that went extinct in 2012, or at least was threatened with extinction. And I think you might have heard of this one. Do you remember this? Do you guys remember? The Twinkie was threatened with extinction and America went crazy. We lost our minds, right? There were letters to Congress. It was on the news. It was on the front page. People were outraged. People were running to 7-Eleven to hoard all the Twinkies they could. And why? Why is it? Why was there all this fuss about Twinkie going extinct and nothing for the black rhino? Same year. What's the difference?
It reminded them of their childhood, to some of them.
Yes. People have a long-term, hands-on, emotional relationship with the Twinkie. No joke. It is true. But they don't have the connection to the rhino. Most kids hadn't heard of that animal before it was gone. This was an animal who, for people my age, was alive for their entire lives, and the first time they're hearing about it is me telling them that it ever existed. And it's because we're not giving children a chance to have a hands-on, long-term emotional relationship to the planet, to the place we call home. Now, we have some crises facing our planet. I'm sure you're all aware of them. We hear about it all the time. Climate change, species loss, deforestation. These are big issues, okay? And they all need big solutions. But I will tell you here and now that none of them matter. One bit. None of them will matter if we don't raise a generation of kids who care about the planet. Pass all the climate change legislation you want. We hand this over to a generation of kids that has no relationship to Earth. What will it matter? It's gone. This is sobering, but it's also really, really exciting. Because if you think about it, under those terms, connecting kids to nature is, and I stand by this, the single most important crisis facing the planet today is our children's relationship to the earth. Now, do we have to go speak in front of the United Nations to get kids back outside? No. Do we have to pass legislation to get kids back outside? Do we need a foundation grant for $10 million to get kids back outside? No. This is how you get kids back outside. It can be that simple. It really can. So I want you to look at this whole concept of just finding ways to weave some nature into the children's who you work with, into their lives every day. I want you to look at this as a mission. You are on a mission, and you are on a mission to solve the world's greatest crisis. It's up to us, the decision makers in a child's life.